Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 273. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, alongside Johnny V.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the studio. I mean, you've been in the States for a while, but last week you were in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, it has been a crazy set of traveling around. I really got my first, we'll say, taste of, I didn't taste any snow, thankfully, but the snow has started to come down in Wisconsin, and it was more so than that. It was bitter cold, like frigid, like bone chilling as the wind was whipping through in the last couple of days. And it just made me think, hey, when's my next trip back out of here?
It's not for a while, correct?
Well, we'll see. I'm open. Contact me today. I have availability. But no, I
bring him up to Canada.
The next scheduled ordeal, the next scheduled thing that I believe that I have is South Florida, and that's almost exactly 1 month from now. So I am looking forward to returning to that A tier in about 4 or 5 weeks. But as of right now, as far as I know of, that is, again, the next time I think I'm contracted to be somewhere. You're going to see a ton of content come out between now and then on my Disc Golf Guy channel. But in terms of going someplace to record something, I believe we are about 1 month out for that. However, I was again thinking on the way here tonight, I really would love for us to take a trip for maybe just 1 or 2 days to go travel somewhere to do a podcast on site. Maybe you've got a great putting league, as you've talked about in the past. I think that's a great tie-in, but maybe there's somewhere that would make sense, preferably warmer than the Midwest where we are, but it doesn't have to be, where you and I could go set up for a night and do some kind of an on-site interview podcast, just kind of take it all in for a night or so, whatever city that might be. So if you have a strong feeling about that and think there would be a good place to host us and maybe want to work out some kind of, sponsorship or agreement along those lines, let us know, because we think it could be a lot of fun. So tonight, great show coming up for you. We are going to have, in just a few moments, Steve Dodge, who is going to, I think he's coming to us remotely. He's literally on the road as we speak. So this is his 2-minute warning to pull over to the side of the road and get ready to join us on the show. And then shortly after, or immediately following Steve Dodge, we're going to have Kyle Klein, our next-gen national champion, who had an incredible weekend. He's an incredible golfer. Lots of skill and talent, great, mild-mannered, very well-put-together kid. I see a very, very bright future for this guy, and I'm excited to talk to him a little bit more after he has received and cashed, perhaps, one of the largest checks written in disc golf this year.
Was it really big?
No, it's a little. Actually, yeah, he did get one of those.
I thought he got
now
a
that
big
I think
one.
about it.
I thought I saw a picture.
Yes, it was, but the dollar figure written on there was also pretty substantial. So we're really excited to talk to Kyle. We're going to be doing that in about 25 minutes. And like I said, we're going to open up with Steve. Of course, then we're going to have other conversations. We've seen some sponsorship news and announcements. We'll talk about those. Nico LaCastro kind of headlining that category right now. And I think we have some other exciting, on the course, off the course, in and out of disc golf business, and details and discussions to go over. So
we did reach out to Nico. We actually expected to have him on.
Yes.
Last week I don't know if we talked about it, but Bobby had set us up and kind of had told Nico, hey, Tuesday night, let's get you on Smashbox. And then we reached out to him again today, and he was like, yeah, I'm cool for tomorrow. That's great. And I was like, no, Nico, that's tonight.
Yeah, so
it didn't work out for Nico.
No, and Nico told me he has family, including, I think, his grandfather that he's going to be visiting with, having dinner with, and such tonight. So it's just not going to work to have him tonight. It would have been great to catch up with him. However, we'll just have to do it another time. He said, well, if you want to set up something for tomorrow night, and I was like, tomorrow night, not so much. Not at least in terms of a live Smashbox broadcast, at least. So thank you guys for tuning in, for joining us. Please go out, like, share the YouTube's link that's out there. Yeah, looking forward to it. All right, you're going to dial up Steve Dodge. I think we also have a few other things that we're going to be debuting or showing off a little bit later tonight. But first, we're going to catch up with Steve Dodge. I think he's, again, on the road, and I can hear him. So we'll see if we can get him all together. It looks like he's just marketing genius coming at us here. I feel like his screen's mildly obstructed, but without further ado, as he's sitting in our Disc Baron digital green room, we can welcome to the show Steve Dodge.
Welcome back.
Hey there, Terry Miller. Hey, Johnny.
Hey, Steve.
How you doing?
It's been a few weeks since I've seen you.
It has been. The parking lot in Chicago was great.
That's a really creepy way to put it, but yeah.
Yep. And so was the adjacent hotel. Okay, guys.
No, for those of you that don't know or don't remember, I actually met Steve down in Chicago to pick up a lot of our equipment.
Okay, as Steve was closing things out, shifting some stuff around with the conclusion of the Pro Tour here for the 2019 season. Steve, it was about a year ago you joined us here.
You're gonna bring it.
Do we need any precursor for this interview? Is there anything we should know about? You've got some amazing news. Let's get to it. What do you got for us?
Terry, I promise you I have nothing that's going to affect your amount of income over the next couple of minutes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, then go on.
I have no impact on you at this point. But thank you for bringing that back up, because that was a beautiful night for me.
It was, you know what? Here we all are.
That's right.
A year later, we've all lived, we've all learned, we've all grown. I think, if anything, I feel like all of our relationships have gotten that much stronger. And that's one of the beautiful things about our Frisbee family and beyond. I know we don't just consider you part of the Frisbee family. You know, you're so much closer than just that. But we're all here, and I think at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
So on my Facebook feed, I noticed my little slogan there a couple of weeks ago, and it says, "You can't fail if you don't try." And good golly, we gave it a try.
Yeah, we did, and you know, it's, we're still trying at some things, and we are,
and we've still failed at some things.
We're still failing,
and we're gonna fail some more. So I'm all right with that.
But I genuinely need to say publicly, thank you guys for being friends and for understanding all of the steps that I took. You guys never gave me any undue criticism, and always understood where I was coming from. And when I came back, you were absolutely willing to listen, and I thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. That's not why we're here, but I think it's valid to say.
Well, Steve, we've said it countless times, whether we agreed or not, with everything you've said or done. You have pushed the sport of disc golf forward so much more than most people will ever know or realize. And for that, we're grateful that you've done everything you have. And we're grateful and excited to see what you've got here in the future yet.
Well, thank you, Terry. Coming from you, that means a ton. And yeah, this is my new venture here is Birdie Disc Golf. We're working on a disc golf board game, which is, I've got to say, super exciting.
Now, I don't know, maybe Johnny, you could chime in on this. Have board games made not a resurgence, but it feels like, do they go, is there a little ebb and flow to how we see them maybe a little bit more popular, then they dip off or tail off and then they come back up? Does anybody feel like that's true, or am I just imagining that?
I think that's true, Johnny.
It has definitely become true over the last couple of years, especially with Kickstarter and all these things, that we have a lot more access to these board games. When we grew up, it was really like 6 games. It felt like you had Monopoly, Risk, Life, Sorry, Chutes and Ladders.
And then those
Stratego.
dorks, yeah, with those Dungeons and Dragons or something.
Yeah, and well, and a lot of these are kind of an expansion of Dungeons and Dragons style games.
Yeah.
A lot bigger and more expansive, more rules, things like that. But it's a lot easier now to get them, and so there has been a big board game resurgence in general.
Okay, so Steve, before you explain yours, please give us the research or what we've seen before us. Because I know there's been at least one disc golf board game that has kind of now also resurged since there's been conversation about yours. What have we seen before yours?
Well, it's interesting because I only heard of I think it's either called Bosch or Dosh disc golf game. But I happened to do testing tonight with Bob Graham and friends in New Jersey. and Bob Graham goes back much farther than I do. I think he's probably 70 or 80 years old by now. And he actually had two other board games in addition to the Bosch game, or I think it's Bosch. And he had a game called Holes, and he had a game called the Disc Golf Tournament game, or something along those lines. The one thing that I'm constantly amazed by is how different all of these different games are. There's different ways to get you from the tee to the basket, using dice, using cards, using graphs. It's pretty fascinating how creative we humans are.
Well, there's never been a secret about the mathematics that you're whether interested in or know all about or are an expert in. How much do you feel like math has played into you creating this game? I mean, I know we're playing disc golf, but strategy and just from conception all the way to what you have in front of you, how math-based was it for you?
So there is a tremendous amount of math, and my goal has been to put it underneath the game so that the players don't really need to think about that math. What I want them to think about is, okay, I'm playing hole 14 at Maple Hill. This is a pretty important drive. If I don't get a good drive here, I'm going to be in trouble. So I want to use my skills here. And it's more of a natural feel as opposed to, okay, I need to roll the 13 to get to this spot. And so that means I got to get a 78% chance of doing this. And I want to hide all that math. There's a significant amount of math underneath the game, but the goal of the game is to make it feel very natural and get rid of those calculations or computations that anybody might need to do.
So as we've seen from a few social media posts from yourself and a couple other people, you're essentially at a testing phase right now where you're getting together in groups and just playing the game with these test pods of people. Is that right?
That is absolutely correct. We're on our 15th iteration of the game. I believe we are I think we're at the final iteration, and now we're just tweaking things back and forth to make everything fit. To answer your question, though, yes, we're doing beta testing. The plan is to do a Kickstarter campaign starting on Black Friday. And so tell all your friends, Black Friday, sign up early, sign up often. From what I understand about Kickstarter campaigns, like the first 100 people to sign up usually get a little bonus. So we're going to try to get this thing going quickly and encourage people to sign up early so they can get some little bonus cards in the game.
Now, do you have, I'm sure you do, what's kind of the process? I mean, obviously now we're seeing your research and development process of it right now, those steps. But then as Kickstarter, if that comes to fruition, whatever that mark is, do you work with a specific board game company? Is there endless supplies of those out there where you could just go basically now pick and choose, or are you talking to our friends over at Mattel, or what are you doing?
So I'm in the process of communicating with 3 companies in China and 1 company in the United States. The company in the United States becomes affordable once we reach a certain level. So I've told that company that I would love to work with them. They are actually my preferred vendor. And if we reach, I think that we're going to set it up. If we reach a stretch goal, then the game itself will be manufactured in the United States, which for me would be really exciting. They would do some additional testing on the game, like they drop it from certain heights to make sure that the corners last, and they do all sorts of additional testing. Plus, I'm confident that there's no confusion between languages. So hopefully we can reach that stretch goal, and we'll be able to manufacture these games in the United States, and that is 100% the goal.
First question I think everybody would then come up with really is, what's the price point you're trying to hit with this?
That's a great question. I'm trying to make sure that it's under $50 retail. And when you do a Kickstarter, I'm under the impression that you give the people who buy in early a discount. So we're looking to set somewhere between $30 and $40 as the Kickstarter price.
Okay, so yeah, just that. The first 1,000 people may sign up, may be issued we'll say the first run or the proto run of the game, and they're getting it for that $30 or $40 contribution. Okay. And so if you
let me interrupt. I'll go into the game a little bit, but I'll go ahead and say that the game would include, in addition to this pretty box you see here, we've got 3 game boards. There's 3 holes per game board, and so we do front and back. So there's 3 on the front, 3 on the back, so that's 6, and then 12, 18 holes over the 3 game boards. There's a deck of at least 64 cards, and I made a post today, and a lot of people came up with some really cool new cards that we hadn't considered. So the deck might expand to a little bit more than 64. And there's 6 player cards. There's lots of dice. There's skill chips. The box, when we created this test box, the U.S. manufacturer that I was talking with said that is a full box. Like he says, normally a box has, filler material in it just to kind of puff it out. And he said this box is jam packed. So that was, for me, that was kind of fun. It felt like we're doing this about as efficiently as we can.
Well, one of the cool things that you could actually do with a lot of these suggestions is make a separate Kickstarter pack for the people that volunteer right away. You get that. It gives them extra rewards or even another course, or however you plan on kind of running through that.
100%. So when we do the initial Kickstarter, there will be the base game, and there will be an expansion pack, and there will even be sponsorship opportunities. If you want to sponsor a hole, if you want to sponsor the course, if you want to get, someone said, hey, why not have a birdie bag card that dries off your hands and adds a couple to your roll, which is a great idea. And perhaps Birdie Bag would want to sponsor that card, or perhaps MVP would want to sponsor that card and make it an osmosis bag or something along those lines. So there's some sponsorship opportunities as well. And that's part of the reason that we might be able to come down on the price and make all of this work is if we can get some people buying it, some people buy the expansion pack, and then some people sponsoring it as well. So between all of those, I think we can hit our target and make this a real thing.
I would say the number one commitment I would be looking for from you tonight, Steve, is that when the Birdie Disc Golf World Championships are going on, that SmashBoxxTV then broadcast those. Those are going to take place at Maple Hill, presumably.
Yeah, they'll be upstairs in the Sap House at Maple Hill.
Perfect fitting. Okay. And so you've already touched on the next question that I think a lot of people had regarding sponsorships. And I know when, again, I'm not much of a video gamer, but as video games have popped up and apps have popped up, that's where I think, have seen a lot of integration throughout the years. People, Latitude 64 with Valley Disc Golf, right?
Disc Golf Valley,
sorry. And some of those other games, when these companies have an additional backing, do you foresee larger, smaller, or disc golf entities, or anyone and everyone possibly being able to get involved on the sponsorship level?
Everyone and anyone. I think sponsorship levels are going to start at 200 and go up to 1,000. And I would prefer to have a variety of people involved as opposed to one or two people gobbling up all the opportunities.
Well, I would assume that there could be some sort of Smashbox card or a live lead card that would actually maybe hurt your stats. You're nervous, more sweat, however that might work. We could integrate something like that and be a sponsor.
The Terry Miller card, where Terry Miller's interviewing somebody right behind you as you're throwing.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that I would never talk too loudly, so
No.
the players could have, but I could see Terry doing with that voice.
Yeah, I definitely rookie moves when it comes to stuff like that. Now, will you have any? I guess this goes.
I'm sorry, Terry. That was one of my favorite moments. I've never been a good commentator, and I guess I've always been a bad commentator, is a better way to put that. But one of my favorite moments was the 2016 Tour Championship. Valerie Jenkins on hole 4 or 5 at Smuggler's Notch, lining up a putt, and I'm saying something about the wind, how she, we've got a headwind, and she's going to have to realize that's going to rise make the putt rise up. And she literally turned around and said, "Steve, we can hear you." That was a good moment. She hit the putt.
Of course she did. I know if you weren't there, where would she be? I mean, forgo all those world titles. What does she know, right? So that does lead in kind of in the sponsorship realm of, are there any challenges and or thoughts about player likenesses, and are there any obstacles you have to worry about there, or is there any concern of that you would have any player in any represented form involved in the game?
So I will say right now we have the base game has 6 players. I'll call them generic players, and the expansion pack has 6 players as well. The base players are people. I think their names are like Parker Poinsettia is really good at putting, and Shannon is really good at scrambling, and Dakota has Big D. And then there's 6 players who have various skills. But they're all kind of generic. And I'll go ahead and say all the names are unisex. So if you get Dakota, you can be a Dakota person, a man, or a Dakota woman. And I
or undefined
did that. What's that?
You could or undefined, the third category.
Or undefined, absolutely. You can be whoever you want to be. The names are all unisex, and it was kind of fun coming up with that. I could see developing. This isn't in the plans. But I could see developing cards for top players, and they would have certain skill sets. That's a really interesting idea that is not currently in the works.
Please tell me that somewhere, if we're really going to go with disc golf vernacular and jargon and whatnot, somewhere there's a sandbagger card that it gets thrown out or yelled out at some point.
When would you? It's a one division. It's you and 3 friends playing disc golf. When are you going to yell sandbagger to your friends?
I don't know. Idiots find a time to do it all the time. I would figure the game should incorporate it as well.
I'll tell you, we do have a card that says "nice shot," and what that means is that you then hit a tree and you don't get a nice shot.
That makes perfect sense. So give us some timelines. Clearly not available for Christmas, I don't think, if you're talking about releasing Kickstarter at Thanksgiving time, but give us a timeline or two.
My thinking is if we can do the Kickstarter from Black Friday, I don't know how long the Kickstarter should be, whether it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but it would end somewhere around Christmas in my mind. And presuming success, what I would like to do is email everybody that purchased a PDF stating what you purchased that you could then print out and give as a gift if you would like, or you could keep it for yourself, and put it under the tree and say, when this game is manufactured and it has been the Kickstarter was successful, that you will be getting this game in about probably 8 weeks. So we're probably looking at delivery sometime in mid to late March.
Okay, and you're shooting for a price point under $50, and you're looking mid to late March.
For delivery of the game, yeah. The Kickstarter, people would have an opportunity to purchase it before that, obviously. Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Have one of the questions on the board was, I know you've had these, I'll call them focus groups, feedback groups, or just your friends, whatever you want to call them. Have you had any touring professional? What's the highest rated player who has played this game? Maybe that's the best question.
What am I rated? Golly.
You don't
so
know.
At least 9, 10. The highest rated player? About 1,000.
Okay.
Give or take 50.
That leads to my next question. This is
Didn't Paul hit 1060?
Yes, he's at 1060.
Yeah.
Has he
Okay,
played
so
it?
No.
And is there a rumor? Maybe you can confirm or deny this. I thought there's a rumor going around that Nate Sexton either has talked about and or has somewhat worked on a disc golf board game. Have you heard that? Heard that?
Nate and I have communicated a little bit about that. I think as I said earlier, actually, I've talked with 4 other people who are maybe as hobbyists developing a disc golf game. And I'll go ahead and just let the cat out of the bag. My goal would be to develop this disc golf game. And if this is successful, to develop, I have another idea for another way to, with just dice to play a disc golf game. And then 4 other people have reached out to me about their disc golf games. So there's lots of people that are thinking about developing disc golf games. I personally would love to grow this into a game company. My brother and I have always loved making games since the time we were 5. Or I guess he was 8 and I was 3, or whatever the ages would work out to be. I think he's 4 years older than me. So yeah, anyway,
and it seems like he always gets that voice scrambler, so that his voice always sounds really gruff. It seems like he's kept that through his whole life, whatever that one is.
He's a nonstop smoker, mostly cigars. Sometimes I think he digs out like little holes and sticks cigarettes inside the cigar, even just to like double smoke, if that's a thing.
All right, sorry for the inside joke, but yeah, Steve's brother, Todd, who's also a great asset to the tour and to our film crew, has a very, very gruff, low voice, and he is not at all a smoker.
Not a smoker at all. I think I don't know how long ago, but he had something on his larynx that was, I think, surgically removed, and ever since then his voice has been very soft. He's unable to speak loudly.
Okay.
I make up for that.
Sorry, I'm taking this to taking a left turn here. All right, so you've had these players. I kind of feel like this is one of those situations. I feel like you've probably been there plenty of times. I know I've been there. With regards to people developing these games, someone's going to be like, I've always had that idea. I thought of Uber. Yeah, okay, sure you did. But, you're acting on it. Where does that come from? The urgency or the excitement. You're acting on something, because so many of us could be like, I had an idea for a disc golf board game, and yet no one's doing it.
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I will tell you that after like the transition, when I transitioned out of a leadership role with the Pro Tour, the MVP Open was the first event where I was just the tournament director of the event, and Jeff Spring was the tour director at that point. And then the next weekend we ran US Masters, and then Monday I didn't do anything at all until about 10 a.m. on Monday, and then I started working on this game, and then so I took from 6 to 10 a.m. when I woke up. I took that 4 hours and didn't do anything, didn't think about anything. And I was incapable to continue that. I don't know the reason for that, but I know that I've always wanted to have a game company, and it felt like, well, I guess that might be what's next. So let's give it a go.
Yeah. Vacation was over. 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Vacation's done. It's time to get back to work. I like that.
It was time.
Can you walk us through real quick, like just the start of the basics of the game? How do you progress? What's the flow of the game? How does it work?
So the game has, and Johnny, I sent you a picture, I think right as you were going live. So I don't even know if you had time to look at it, but if there's any way to get that picture up and you could zoom in on it, we could show a little bit, but, the game, you start on the tee and you roll 3 6-sided dice. And then based on what you roll, you move to usually one of 9 positions. And those positions would be circle 1, 2, 3, approach 1, 2, 3, or off fairway 1, 2, 3. And so obviously, well, not obviously, but the lower die, if you roll low, you would go to off fairway 3. And if you roll 10 or 11, you generally go to approach 2. And if you roll a 20, maybe you could get to circle 1. And so that's the, I see that's, if people could see that on your phone, that's great. So that's the general idea is you just roll the dice. The strategy comes in where each player at the beginning of the game, you build your player, and you can build your driving ability, you build your distance, you build your putting, you build your ability to focus, and then you also can build your karma, which is gives you karma cards, and the karma cards half are good and half are bad. The bad ones you tend to play on other people, and the good ones you tend to play on yourself. And I say tend because sometimes if you play a good karma card on somebody else, more karma cards will come to you. So if you're beating somebody by several strokes, yeah, go ahead and play a good karma card on them, get some more karma cards so you can attack other people later. So in the game tonight, I think it happened twice where positive karma cards were played on John, who wasn't rolling very well. He ended up losing by 1 stroke instead of 3, but the people got extra karma cards because they did something nice for him. So there's the strategy comes into how you build your player, how you utilize your player's skills. Scrambler Shannon is able to play out of the off fairway sections very well. And so maybe when he's driving, he wouldn't use extra dice because it kind of doesn't matter if he goes off the fairway or on the green. Whereas someone who can putt really well would probably want to use extra dice when they're driving so that they can get on the green where they're strongest. And you can use your focus and your driving skills to give yourself extra dice. Some karma cards give you extra dice or add or subtract from the roll. And then each player has their inherent skills. And one of the things that we're doing in the beta testing right now is, okay, when these 4 players are playing, how do their skills interact? Does anybody have a significant advantage over other players? For example, tonight, Putta Parker Poinsettia seemed a little bit strong, and we figured out a pretty clever way to adjust their skills. So did that answer your question, Johnny, is sort of the general basics?
Yeah, it did. I think it's a dice-based game with karma cards, as you said, and I don't know. I'm excited to play. I'm excited to give it a try at some point.
I'll say 2 more things just to follow up on that. Your default is to throw 3 6-sided dice. So you can get some number between 3 and 18. You can add more dice, and let's pretend we use a focus chip and a driving chip, and we get 2 more dice. So we'd roll 5 6-sided dice, and we would take the score of the 3 highest. So you just remove your 2 lowest dice, and that's your score. You still get between 3 and 18, but you have a better opportunity to get a higher number. And then that's one point. The other side is if you ever want to risk it, there's also 20-sided dice included in the game. And so instead of adding 2 6-sided dice, you could just use 2 20-sided dice, for example, and roll those. And then that obviously gives you an opportunity to get a 1, which would be very bad, or to get a 20, which maybe will hit chains or go in the basket.
Okay, so plenty of strategy and plenty of different ways. What's kind of I don't want to say the optimum number, but minimum, maximum amount of players for a typical game? And is there an optimum number? Maybe that is a good question.
I think optimum number would be 3 or 4. If you could play with 2, but there's only 1 person to play bad karma cards on. And then you could play with 5. The game, just like disc golf, goes slower with 5. And then you could also play with 6. And if you played with 6, I would say play doubles.
Okay. And then at some point, we'll be able to follow along. There will be leagues and tournaments, and then it'll all be on UDisc
Live.
Yeah, right.
Well, I will go ahead and say, you asked about math earlier, and I have to give a tip of the hat to the UDisc guys, because we were going through the Maple Hill Gold course, and we used the UDisc stats to determine what is the likelihood of a disc landing in any particular area. Obviously, UDisc doesn't break it down that way, but I put some math underneath that and then did some calculations. And at this point, if there's any course that has had a UDisc, has had a tournament at it that UDisc was present at, I'd be able to plug some numbers in, and it would just spit out what numbers should be on the course maps. So building new courses, it'll take some doing. There's always some finagling, because sometimes courses aren't all courses aren't exactly the same, and not all holes are the same. But with probably within one day, we'd be able to get all of the numbers that would go on the course, and then it'd just be a matter of building out the maps and putting the numbers on there. So that's a realistic thing that could actually happen.
It's kind of ridiculous and impressive, more so, just how much we can take the real life and simulate it, put it right into the board game, have it all show up, and you two could be playing with Patty Poinsettia Putter, whatever their name was.
Parker Poinsettia.
Okay, we'll go with that. All right, Steve. Final push here. Kickstarter looking to go right on Black Friday, give or take, a few hours of that, but planning on Black Friday, Kickstarter, kickoff. That's where people can find it. Anywhere else they can find information, or should they just wait for that Kickstarter page to show up?
Right now, they'd have to just follow my Facebook page, because that's where we're putting all the information. We are in the process of finalizing a company name for the game company. We have two names, and we have not settled on one yet. And these are our fifth and sixth names, so we have no idea what the name of the company is going to be. But once we get that, we'll build a website, and then people will be able to follow along and join an email list there, and we'll get going.
All right, buddy. Well, you got a couple of excited guys here that are going to be anxious to play it, and I obviously, both of us are going to go out and order our version via Kickstarter. So looking forward to it, and keep us up to date between now and then.
Thank you guys very much. I look forward to the Smashbox card, and I think that's a great idea.
I'm also going to send you, we're going to wrap this up because Kyle's coming on, but I'm going to send you an article about a guy I know who says how we turned $140,000 on Kickstarter into $40,000 in debt, and then how we broke even. It's a great article. I'm going to send that to you, Steve.
So please do. There's a lot of similar stories. There's a lot of hidden costs that people don't consider when you're running a Kickstarter. Plus, if you get 100 people that sign up for a Kickstarter, generally only 90 of them end up buying the game because credit cards go bad or something doesn't go through. And there's a lot of extra things to consider. And so, the more information, the better. I thank you very much for that.
We're always looking out for you, buddy. All right, Steve, drive safely, get home safely, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you all.
All right, good night.
Good night, Steve.
All right, Steve Dodge with Birdie Disc Golf. Another cool, exciting adventure. And again, as he just mentioned, look for that to hit Kickstarter's page right around Thanksgiving. He was talking about Black Friday. What a convenient day to go out there and offer some sales.
Only makes sense.
You've already got your credit card hot and heavy, ready to go. We're going to try and connect with Kyle, who has graciously let us go a few minutes over. I know it's getting a little bit later there in Michigan, where I think Kyle's going to be joining us from, and it looks like he's almost set up and ready to go. And we'll hear from our champion after a long weekend, plenty of golf taking place down there in Austin, Texas, a grueling weekend at that, with a variety of weather conditions and so just an all-around great battle. And without further ado, joining us from our Disc Baron Digital Green Room and welcoming to the show, Kyle Klein. Kyle, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Pretty good. How about yourself, Terry?
Good. Myself, Johnny V here, and first and foremost, thank you for joining us. I know coming in, it's a school night, which is funny to say to some of our young superstars. It's a school night for you, and you're on the East Coast, so thank you. But let's start with the biggest, one of the biggest checks written in disc golf this year goes to you to take down the Next Gen National Championship. How does that feel?
It feels great because I knew once they put the promotional video out for this tournament back in April or May, and I saw and heard about the top prize, I knew I was going to come down and try to win.
Well, so giving a little backstory to that, the year before, we were out in Arizona. We were there for actually a couple years, but we were in Fountain Hills. We saw Mr. Schultz take down and win the car, the Jeep in this case. First, a couple years ago, we saw the Kia, and then we saw the Jeep last year. You came as a runner-up, and I think the two of you combined for your age was, what, like 30, 31 at the time last year? Does that sound about right? 15 and 16?
Yeah, I think it was 31.
Yeah. So here you are at the wise age of 17, and now you take home a $5,000 check. Give us a little backstory to this year. You said you had that goal in mind, but lead us through 2019 and some of the other events you played and you competed at.
I started playing a lot more open and professional tournaments this year because I knew I was slowly growing out of the amateur division. I was getting high enough rated where I was starting to feel a little bad for myself playing in the amateur divisions.
Well, you were whooping these kids, or adults, I should say. You were whooping some of these other people. Now, you're rated right now, what, 10, 12, 10, 11? Well, there's a new update today, but
10, 11.
Okay. So you started this year playing a few more open events, but you were declining cash solely because of the Next Gen experience, or no?
Yes, that's the main reason why.
Okay.
It seems to have paid off. $5,000.
Yeah, it did.
How much cash did you turn down this year? A couple thousand, 1 or 2,000?
I don't know the exact amount. I'd have to guess probably 1,000, 1,500,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay. And you were just one, I think, position out of cash, if I remember looking you up the other day when we were talking at the USDGC, which is very impressive that you were even near the cash line there in that field. You won the Tower Open earlier in the year, and you also, kind of in your backyard, so to speak, at the Great Lakes Open, you declined cash there. And then, what, 2 other events, River City and the state championships, also declined cash. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
What were people saying to you as you were declining cash throughout the year?
They just asked why, and I told them because of this Next Gen finale tournament, I don't want to accept $400, $500 cash when I could have a chance to win 7,000. Well, that's what it was, 7,000. That's what I thought up until the day before the tournament when Dave announced it was only 5,000, but still.
All right, well.
Yeah, I believe there was they came up just short of their $100,000 goal because the event actually didn't fill. Had the event filled, the other money probably would have made it in there, but they didn't. They were just short of that, I believe.
So walk us through specifically your Next Gen experience for the year. Where did you play? Where did you qualify? You know, that kind of stuff. Walk us through that a little bit.
I played one exclusive event, which is like the four times point multiplier, and there was only
Oh.
12 people total in the tournament, so there wasn't a whole lot.
Okay, so I'm sorry, you were cutting out a little bit. You said that you played in one of the big multiplier events. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of people in that one.
Now, was there any form of exemption with your solid play the year before, finishing runner up? Did you have to go out and actually get qualified this year by playing in events?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I might have got a sponsor exemption. I'm not sure because I'm on Team Next Gen.
Sure.
But I qualified through one of the premier events.
Okay.
I won that, so I got an automatic invitation.
All right. So speaking of sponsors, at what point did you become sponsored by Discmania?
Back in, I think it was late December, so almost a year ago.
And what was the conversation like for you to, did Avery or someone else reach out to you? Was it talking to any of the Schultz family? Like what was it that got you connected with Discmania as opposed to any other sponsor?
It was mainly Silas. Silas went and talked to Avery about me, told him about me, that he thinks I would be a good fit. And then about a week or two later, so Avery messaged me about setting up a phone call to see set up the sponsorship. So that's where we are.
So no big deal. So you're 17 right now, correct?
Yes.
Now, you come home from Austin, Texas. You and your dad flew it, I believe, on early Monday morning, but you get home and you go back to high school. What are some of the conversations you have with people at high school? Did everyone know?
No, there's not a whole lot of conversation. They just know. They just congratulate me and say thanks. They ask, did you really win $5,000? And I was like, yeah, I did.
Like, look at my big check. Sorry, look at my big check. I mean, you could have put that on like a gold chain and walked around school with it, right?
I could
Uh,
have.
I think you need to talk to that agent Avery and get yourself set up. So, talk a little bit about you as an athlete at school, some of the other things you do, and as a student. I mean, what are some of your plans in the next couple years?
I think I'm gonna start college next winter. In the winter semester, I'm gonna try to plan out a little tour I can do for myself, probably from March to October. In there, I'll see if I can hit some of the bigger A tiers and pro tour events in the Midwest.
And then when you go to college, what are you looking to go to school for? Do you have that in mind?
Not right now. I have a couple ideas. They're not like for sure. They're not in what am I thinking of? They're
locked
not
in, official, finalized.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nothing wrong with not knowing yet. And then you're in other sports. What sport are you in now, and what are some of the sports you've been in your career, in your lifetime?
In the fall, from July until about a couple of weeks ago, I was in varsity marching band for I've been in that all 4 years of high school. I do swim and dive in the winter. I've done that for all 4 years, and then the spring's just been open.
So you just swim and dive. So that season's coming up in like a month or so, isn't it?
Couple of weeks, I think, a week or two.
Oh, is it that soon already? Okay. I only know because my son is now. I was a swimmer in high school. Now my son, who's 10, he's getting into swimming, and we get to sit and watch all the high school kids finish up before they let us in the pool.
Is it at all difficult?
That's fun.
Is it at all difficult to be involved in other sports and activities then that aren't winning you $5,000? Like when you go to, if swimming, maybe you're really good at it. Is it a passion enough where you're like, well, I mean, I could win money in disc golf. Does that thought cross your mind?
Not necessarily swimming. I mean, personally, I'd say I'm pretty good at it, but it's not going to take me anywhere like as close to where disc golf I think is going to take me.
Okay. So if we could just fast forward, and you're incredibly young, and I don't expect anyone to have it all figured out yet, but let's fast forward just 5 years. What do you feel like would be a perfect either career or an ideal year for you? You know, would you want to be on tour for part of the year and the entire year? Like, how do you see disc golf fitting into your life 5 years from now?
These next couple of years, like the next year or two, I'm gonna see what I can do, and if it leads positively and I make an impact on tour, I'm gonna see if I can tour professionally.
How do your parents feel about that? Are they supportive?
Overall, they support it. I mean, as long as I'm paying for it and they're not having to pay for the majority, then I mean, at least that's what they said.
What is a 17-year-old with one of the largest checks of the year? What do you just put that right in the bank and stash that away for future touring? Did you go treat yourself to any gadget or toy or purchase of any kind?
No, we haven't put it in the bank yet. We still need to sit down and talk about what it's going to be for.
Okay. When you've been doing a lot of the playing, I think I saw you in Michigan once or twice this year. Last year I saw you in Indiana at a qualifying event. Do you normally travel with friends, or is it exclusively your family, mom, dad? What's your travel usually like?
Usually it's with either of my parents. It's one of the two. There's not, like, around here, there's not a ton of kids that are my age playing, I guess, at the level and this, like, seriousness that I am.
Now, like us, you're in a great disc golf state. You're in Michigan. Where exactly are you in Michigan? And then what's the scene like? Did it help, foster your career? But where are you in Michigan?
Grand Rapids, it's on the west side, probably the west side of the state, probably, I don't know, half an hour from Lake Michigan. So there's a lot of cool courses out near the dunes. I know there's a couple I really like out there.
Yeah, Johnny and I were playing Grand Ledge back in early 2000, and
before he was
Brewer
born.
and Johnson and all those. Okay, maybe before your time a little bit.
Literally before he was born.
Yeah, I know.
Terry.
We saw the Pro Masters Worlds take place there, 2017, I believe. I'm doing my years right. I guess my tie to that is, where did your influence come from? Was there local pros or people or your parents, or where did your disc golf, we'll say, skills and introduction and passion all come from?
My stepmom introduced it to my dad in 2012, I think. She asked him if he'd ever played. He said no, so he took us out. He took me and my two brothers out to play. And I guess within the first couple times we tried it, I really liked it. So we went and played more and more, and then, yeah.
Did you find that you were hooked immediately?
Not immediately after the first time I threw, and after the first couple rounds we played, I started to figure out how to throw it, how to do different things. And it was all self-learning. I guess I learned from YouTube videos, but mostly it was just self-taught.
And now I don't want this to just, this is a unique situation for you to say your stepmom introduced it, we'll say, to the rest of your family. Like, I think it's fair to say that's not a common phrase that you would hear. Did she play in tournaments before, or she was just familiar with it from being in the state or somewhere else?
Yeah, she was going on a bike ride or a walk. Sometimes she saw the baskets and people playing over at Johnson Park when that you previously mentioned. And she was with my dad, and she asked, "Hey, have you ever played this? You ever heard of this?" He goes, "No." He said, "You should try it."
All right, and just like that, the star was born. Did you hear any of what we just talked about with Steve Dodge a few minutes ago when he was on here, or no?
I tuned in the last couple minutes. I didn't hear a lot of it.
Okay, and I only ask as he was talking about a disc golf board game, and I was thinking, like, you know, with you being relatively new to the game, would do things like apps or would a disc golf board game interest you personally?
It depends. I'm trying to think, like that you had when you had mentioned it, I was trying to think of how it would be played, and I'm just like not thinking of ways. Like I'm trying to think like how is this going to be played?
I think everybody's going to figure that out in the next couple months.
Get some dice and
some dice and some cards and play karma cards apparently and build up your skills. It'll be interesting.
All right. Now, is there anything in the immediate future in terms of disc golf? I know when you and I talked at the brewery the other night, you said you're not necessarily much of a bad weather player, which isn't really good for you living in Michigan. But what do the next few months look like for you in terms of disc golf, whether it's practicing or playing or tournaments or anything? Or will you kind of put the discs away when it's not so nice out?
I keep them out. I just try to get out when I can. If there's not snow on the ground, or there's minimal snow and it's decently warm out, I'll go out and throw and putt. But most of the time, there's snow on the ground. I'll stay inside.
Putting leagues have become really popular in the last few years, and now I know some of them are at breweries, which you may or may not have a challenge getting into. But is there anything like that in your area? Will you go out and try and look for any kind of competitive putting or anything like that during the off season?
Yeah, there's been leagues. I haven't gone to them. I've heard there's 2 or 3 around me. I'll try to get out to some this winter. I've never been to one before.
What's on your bucket list of places you'd like to go, play, compete, maybe for a big tournament or maybe just to say, to play the actual course? What are a few places you're looking forward to getting to in the next few years?
I really want to go back to Winthrop Gold and play USDGC. I really liked that course, so that's on my bucket list for sure to go again. I want to go to Maple Hill because I've watched that course a lot and it looks really fun. Along with Maple Hill up in that the northeast section, like Smuggler's Notch up there where they play Green Mountain.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That looks really fun too.
And those, I mean, you talk about Maple Hill and Green Mountain. Those are what we would usually call a little bit more wooded courses. Is that more your style? Is that the type of course you play? Is it more heavily wooded or more of a wide open course? Are you more of a bomber?
I like playing in the woods, but it's not my first choice. I'd rather be out in more open fields like Winthrop University is at USDGC. That's more of my style, of course.
Have you thought about trying to go to, say, the opening of the West Coast or the West Swing, so to speak, that opens the year, like the Memorial, Las Vegas Challenge? Are those something that would be on your radar to go play or no?
They're on the radar for sure. I don't know how likely it would be I'd get out there because that's still when school's going on. That's still a week-long trip. And I've missed enough already this year. I can't afford to miss more.
Yeah, does everyone at school, I mean, obviously your friends, maybe your teachers, but like, does the administration, everybody know why you haven't been in school?
I think so. I think they do. My parents have called in and told them I'm going to be gone these days for this.
Okay. Paige Pierce was recently in the news. We'll talk about that a little later after we're not done speaking with you. But my point is, or my question that is to follow that is, any hometown love, I mean, you're in a pretty legitimate disc golf city being in Grand Rapids. I know the 97 AM Worlds were there, the 2017 Masters Worlds, and it's a great city for disc golf. Has there been any local press or stories written about you?
Not yet. At least I haven't seen.
All right. Well, we need to get, again, those PR people. We got to get those on them for you. All right. Is there anything else you want to share with us that you think the world should know about you as a up-and-coming disc golfer? You take a $5,000 check. You decline cash all year. You take the significant check. You're a professional disc golfer. Anything we need to know?
Not really, no.
All right. Well, I think as you continue to have success, I'm going to draw more and more out of you, whether you like it or not. We're gonna learn more about you as the years go on, but it's been really awesome. I know you and I talked at least last year, if not the year before even possibly, and to see such a young talent come up and then you to have the success that you've had and also have that demeanor, and I almost always see a smile on your dad's face when I've seen him. Seems like you guys are really enjoying yourselves out there, and the success has followed. So it's been pretty awesome to see.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, we're going to let you go. We appreciate you joining us. We wish you continued success. Make sure that your PR people are on top of things, making sure that everybody knows of your successes out there. If you don't want to do it, that's what you got PR people to do. But we're glad to see it, and
All right, well,
we're going to let you get going so you can go to bed and go to school tomorrow.
In the morning.
Sound good?
that sounds good.
All right, Kyle. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kyle.
All
Congratulations.
right, you too, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
All right, so Kyle Klein, our next-gen champion.
Seems like a good kid.
Super, super good kid.
Every time you asked him a question, that's how he said he collected his thoughts with the.
I didn't mean to perplex him in any way.
Just it's fun, as someone said on the board. It's fun to see just like a full-blown, like a real teenager, but in band, on the swim team, going to high school, doing, just
Being a kid.
And
clearly success is not going to his head. He's kept himself in check, and very humble, very mild-mannered, and he's always been really a delight and a pleasure. Anytime I've seen him on the course, or anytime I have had discussions or interviews or conversations with him over the last few years, I've always really enjoyed his tone and his demeanor, and and he's not going to talk my ear off, but he has the right answers, and I think he just enjoys being a kid, and as we say about so many of our players, when you're good and you continue to have success, as we know he's destined to do at this point, he's going to continue to open up, become a little bit more, maybe a little bit more wordy, maybe not. I mean, I guess
Calvin.
Chris Dickerson wins every weekend, and he's still a man of few words.
Ricky used to be that way.
So it'll be fun to watch him continue to blossom into the young superstar that he's already proven to be, for sure. So, and his biggest fan, his number one fan, not just his dad who's on the board, but one of his card mates, John Nicholson, is out there on the board right now. And John enjoyed, I think I can say this, John, that he enjoyed the beatdown that he got by Kyle this weekend. Maybe he didn't enjoy it, but either way, he's out there supporting him. And that was another great thing to see of the camaraderie at the Next Gen Tour event. It seemed like when you play 3 or 4 or 5 rounds with some of these people, obviously you get to know them. You've traveled usually great distances to all come together at one spot to vie for this title, or a regional title or a national title. And so they really do get to know one another. And you're spending a lot of time together because you're having meals together, some of the extracurriculars together. That's all part of being at these big events. And just as you would notice when you sometimes go to tournaments like usually like an AM Worlds or a Junior Worlds, not so much this weekend, but in the past, you'll see somebody play 40 holes of grueling golf in a day, and then they're out there playing another 10 holes, running around, jumping, throwing hundreds of putts, like just taking it all in and vibrant and full of energy.
Disc golf destination.
Yeah. And
That's what
yeah.
Am World's always felt like to me.
So, all right, let's read a few details. There's some gaping holes in the next-gen stats because of players that decline the cash. Read off the top 5 or 8 players here at the next-gen on the MPO side.
Winning the Next Gen Tour Championship, Jonathan Nicholson. Who knew? No, just kidding. Kyle Klein, of course, we just had on, who won $5,000. Second place, who's on our board tonight, Jonathan Nicholson, $3,500. That's not a bad beatdown to get, let me tell you.
No.
You think Jonathan could have gone up to Kyle beforehand and be like, let's just split it? You know, can we think we can? No,
No,
probably
no.
not.
Kyle had his sights set on that a year earlier.
He did. Third place, Casey Cox. Fourth place, Mitchell Ramirez. Fifth place, Matthew Hill. And then sixth place is Jake Mon, but he declined the cash, so it has moved down to seventh place, Colby Childress. Any relation to Henry?
I don't believe so.
Don't believe so. Okay. Eighth place, Stephen Dorochi. And then we have a huge gap. We see Dustin Phipps, Abel Virgile, Joe Wright, Jared Tribbett, Justin Davis, Levi Hancock, all declining cash, probably in an attempt to maybe win an Am Worlds next year or come back next year to the Next Gen Tour and try to get that Kyle Klein money.
Yeah. Great to see. And one of the names you mentioned up there in the top few spots, also another young gun who I did interview on Saturday night, Jake Mon. Oh, I thought it was Moon, but it's Mon. I can't see from here, sorry. Jake, 14 years old.
Oh, jeez.
He's about as tall as you. Very gracious young man as well, and it was great to talk to him, but certainly putting together some good golf, and he's only been involved with disc golf for a couple years now. And
what's he like?
He's,
let me guess, 14, just around 6'6", probably $145.
No, he wasn't. He didn't quite rock the same junior high physique you did, but he was also a really good kid, and it was great to talk with him. But I believe he's again just 14 years old. So when you think about names, that's one of the beauties of me personally being involved with the next gens and the Am Worlds and the Junior Worlds. I love watching our talent really just grow and blossom right in front of me as I'm at these events, and then picking up on these names, because these are guys I'm probably going to be talking about and or interviewing for the next 10 or 15 years. And, to see him take down a title so early on. Same with Kyle, getting introduced to him a couple years ago.
Open women. Now, you'll have to clear something up for me, Terry, because there's no information here, but winning the Open women was Aria Castruda. Castrida. Second place, Melody Castrida. Third place, Liz Torek. And fourth place, Jennifer Rackham. But I see no money totals next to the Open women. Did they all decline cash?
That is correct. All four of them, I believe, declined the cash that was offered to them. Aria and Melody also have another sister. They are all out of Texas, not too far from where they were playing their final round at Roy G. I did also meet them at the Junior Worlds this year, and there were 3 of them that played. 2 of them went home Junior World champions, and Aria, who won this weekend, took second place in the 15 and under girls. So 3 junior girls, 2 world titles, and a runner-up. Clearly a force to be reckoned with down there in Texas and beyond. So it was great to see them again. That'll echo what I just said. It was awesome seeing and meeting and filming and talking to these young women when I was at the Junior Worlds, and then now here we are a few months later, and they're familiar faces, and they're clearly part of that next wave of incredible players. So congratulations to them.
Pro Masters 40 plus, Robert Tate winning $3,000. Normally we don't even mention the Pro Masters, but this is a pretty large payout. Second place, Robert Cummings III, winning $1,500. Third and fourth, declined cash, Jason Carter and BZ Strick. Fifth place, Ray Hill winning $800. Congratulations to all the people who cashed.
Yeah.
And everybody for showing up and playing.
Yeah, I want to say that I didn't, because of some flights and some weather and other stuff, I didn't get there quite in time for the players' meeting. It sucks. I paid a bunch of extra money to change my flight to get there earlier on Thursday, only to have weather get me there later. So that's, I don't know if there's a karma card that Steve Dodge was dealing out, but that didn't work for me as planned. But they were treated to a clinic that I believe featured Sarah Hokum, along with, I believe, Lisa Fakis, along with Prodigy's Kevin Jones, and there might have been one other pro. I apologize if there was another one, but
Was Philo there?
Philo was not there. But they were all there. They were doing some demonstrations, some clinic type stuff, and available for most of the weekend, which is really cool to see. So thank you to Disc Nation and everyone else, and all of the hosts. We were at 3 different courses, none of which I've seen before out there. We were at East Metro Park for rounds 2, 3, and 4. We were at Roy G for the final round, along with the final 9. And then during the opening day, which unfortunately the weather was the worst, we were at Flat Creek Winery, and that's about 45, maybe 50 minutes outside of Austin. A beautiful course as well, and a really great place to be. So some gracious hosts, and a very different change of pace, and the scenery was different from, of course, seeing in the previous 2 years, we've seen 4 or 5 or 6 rounds or whatever out at Fountain Hills, which is a pretty straightforward course, which just has the fountain to deal with and the water. Here, they were treated to 3 courses that were considerably longer, with a lot more, we'll say, challenging golf found out there in Texas. So it was plenty of golf to be had. And it is worth stating, all of our champions and everyone that competed that made the cut, there was as many as 90 or 99 holes of golf played. So when you crown a champion like Robert or Arya or Kyle, 99 holes of golf over 3 days to claim that title. And this wasn't pitch and putt golf. This was some pretty hardcore golf. So congratulations to all of them, as Johnny just said.
Young guns. It's going to be a scary couple of years coming up. I'll tell you that.
Arya,
Open.
like I said, 15 and under is what she was in. So, and then Kyle, 17.
Yeah, for the Open and the FPO are both just going to be. I'm really excited for the future of disc golf.
All right, what else did we see in terms of any other PDGA golf that took place? Nothing worth
nothing
of noting.
Nothing of noting. A couple.
If you won, congrats this weekend.
Yes, if you
Johnny
won,
doesn't want to recognize your efforts. They were lackluster and not impressive.
They didn't really interest me.
Okay.
There's a bunch of C tiers and some B tiers.
I can't wait till I get the hate mail. Hey man, I finally won the C tier in such and such division. You couldn't even call out my name.
Nope.
But I won.
That's too bad.
Advanced Senior Grandmaster Women. Where's my shout out? No?
Shout out.
Okay.
But what we do have is an exclusive from our friends over at UDisc.
What?
Yeah, UDisc tomorrow, they're going to be making an announcement, rolling out some new features, but they gave us a little video ahead of time that we can play, and it's about a minute-long commercial. And we're going to play this for you guys, and then we're going to get on to some other news in the sport. So take a quick break, listen, watch, learn about the new UDisc.
Man, that sure was fun. Where do you want to play next? There's this course down south I've been wanting to try. The reviews look good, but I haven't seen any pictures.
No worries, dude. I brought my desktop. So, that still sick?
Nope.
Great. I heard he had that life-threatening.
He died.
Or you could use the UDisc app. All you have to do is select the course you're interested in with UDisc's course directory and scroll down a little until you see the pictures. We've added thousands of photos already, but you can help by snapping pictures of your local courses and uploading them to the app. So now you know, with the addition of course photos, the UDisc app has everything you need.
All right. Well, thank you, UDisc Yenny, giving us the insight.
I can't wait till we have her on the show at some point.
We certainly will have to. Spoiler alert, I don't believe she's an avid disc golfer.
She's probably not.
She will be, though. I mean, how can you promote UDisc to such a degree and not get jacked about wanting to go play some disc golf?
Yes, sure.
All right.
So the new feature is the course photos that you'll be able to put on the app, and those will get put on different courses. So you can go through and kind of take a look at generally how the course looks as opposed to just maybe a general overall map. You'll be able to see actual pictures from tees, from greens, all that other stuff. So we're looking forward to that UDisc.
So color me ignorant, but I guess I just assumed those were already there. But I guess it's even news to me that
that is
there
new.
were not maps.
That is a new feature.
Or there was not pictures previously offered. I never know where I'm going, so I guess it doesn't matter. I feel like, well, I know I have a problem. This weekend, I went to, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, I went to 3 new courses. The Flat Creek Winery, East Metro Park, Roy G. At all 3 courses, even though I was driving by myself,
you still first basket?
I still was very attentive when I was driving up to the parks, thinking, oh God, where's that first basket? Oh, where's that first basket? And I was looking around with that excitement that I feel when I go to a brand new course I've never seen before. Only once out of the 3 times did I yell out first basket because it's become such a habit, but I feel like that's how I know I'm still hooked.
That's good. It's good to keep that blood flowing, Terry.
Well, when you can actually challenge me, then maybe you could talk a little.
Challenge you anytime.
Never. I don't feel threatened at all.
Some from first basket action. That's what we're going to have.
That's what we'll have to do.
Let's talk about the other big news that we heard just announced yesterday. The gentleman that we had talked about earlier having on, unfortunately, couldn't make it due to some family obligations. Nico LaCastro is now a full-fledged sponsored player.
What?
Something that he hasn't truly had a individual manufacturer sponsor in quite a few years. He's been kind of in and out of the sponsorship game as long as we've known Nico, but he is sponsored now by Westside. For those of you that don't know, Westside is part of the Trilogy family. I believe half owned by Latitude, half owned by Dynamic. He is going to be throwing primarily Westside bag, but he is open to all 3 companies.
Okay, that's a common.
It's a common Trilogy sponsored player feature. We'll say out on the board, Chris Clemens, not on our chat board, but out on the Reddit boards. Chris Clemens is a known lurker out there. He was saying that he was actually playing with Nico and kind of introducing him and directing him towards some discs. But Chris was like, he's experienced golfer. He literally has to throw a disc like once, and he kind of is like, all right, I know what this does.
Sure.
I mean, he just has that, as most of our golfers do. But you can probably see him. It'll be interesting to get in the bag with Nico.
Well, and I think to follow that up, and again, it would be great if we could have had him tonight. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but to follow that up, I would love to see the breakdown of, like you just said, in the bag, but I'd love to see the breakdown of actual Westside discs. And then I want to know from a media and marketing perspective of those companies, how that all shakes out in terms of where the most benefit is had. Westside, hopefully, of course, gaining the majority of the exposure. Of course, if it were up to Westside, they would love it if he was throwing 100% Westside molds. But he more than likely will throw anywhere from a half to 3/4 Westside, maybe a third. We really don't know. and then you're going to see him probably fill a slot with some actual DD molds and some actual latitude molds. Now, I've seen Nico throw a number of latitude molds. I feel like he was dabbling with those a few years ago. We've also seen.
I feel like Nico just before a tournament opens up his trunk and just puts discs in a bag, and he looks at me, he's like, I think I know what these do. I just honestly, because I swear, other than his wizard putter, it feels like he's throwing different discs every time I'm seeing him, and he hasn't been on coverage that much this year. But the guy just has the widest, and he's been fortunate to have this widest breadth of disc golf selection that we've seen from a top pro.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up by saying, at one point when I had a conversation with him, I feel like he told me, I think we were on the boat to Nantucket, he told me, yeah, somebody had this PD, I grabbed it out of like the used bin, and I've been throwing it every day since. Like, it was really no big deal to him.
I'm not far off with my guesstimate.
No, you're really not. And it does show just how skilled he is, because I feel like you're saying, he can pick up any disc, and it's just a matter of how does he want to throw that disc. He's really a student of the Frisbee and of flight and of the mechanics, where I don't know how much the tools actually matter to him. And we're not trying to downplay any form of sponsorship or any of the arrows that are out there and available to him by any means, but he's just that well versed. And and he's always kind of famously thrown that power turnover to having it flex back. We'll see what disc he's doing that with. What I think is also, there was a few weeks ago where it felt as if there was rumors and maybe even a meme or two and some ambiguity out there about him possibly having a formal relationship with Discmania.
I believe Discmania, and even UC kind of confirmed this, that they were in talks.
Mm-hmm.
It was obviously early negotiations, maybe just kind of dipping your toe in the Nico water, so to speak. For UC has shown interest in Nico for quite a while, is my understanding, that he's just one of those players that UC has always been interested in, because Nico has these skills that he's just, we'll say, hasn't been supported by a manufacturer, an individual manufacturer like this.
Yeah,
his uncle owns Gateway, and so he's always had a great relationship with them. He's bounced around. He's been on Innova's sponsored team. He was a DD sponsored team member before they had plastic.
It was
more
really
of apparel.
Yeah.
He was one of the first guys on Prodigy on that first team.
Mm-hmm.
He been with
Daredevil.
I remember. We had Daredevil on.
MVP and legacy ties and relationships with them. So he's definitely showed himself and has aligned himself with a number of the manufacturers that have been out there throughout these years. And we'll see if this is the right home or the landing zone or landing spot for him.
And he has kind
future.
of other than Gateway, he has a reputation for being with a sponsor for about 1 to 2 years and then moving on for whatever reason. So we're going to see if this is a place that where Nico can stick and hold for a while. It would be nice to see maybe it would be nice for us to see some consistency in his bag. I don't think he cares one way or the other. I think he's happy to have the support. I think he's happy to have a brand and someone like Bobby Brown on the media side to help promote and push and do the in the bags that probably he hasn't had that type of support with in the past.
Well, I think he is going to have so many resources available, assuming he's going to have that offer of having West Side, but then also be able to throw that latitude plastic and the dynamic plastic. One would have to think he has damn near every mold then at his fingertips that should suit wherever he's getting it from. You would think with all three of those companies at his disposal or at his fingertips, he should be able to find a disc for every situation that he wants.
Definitely no hole in the bag.
So, well, that was probably the biggest news that I think we saw in the sponsorship. I feel like Discmania also locked in one of the other young guns. Maybe that was already last week now.
Ascari V. Sorry, I'm gonna.
Many have been talking about him being the the next Crush boy to be added to the lineup for how far he throws. Is he not? Isn't he 15, 16 as well?
Yeah, I believe he's 16 years old. He has joined as you said, the Crush Boys. I'm looking for the team page right now so I can pull up that name. See,
yeah,
he might not even be on the team page yet.
And I'll apologize and say I'm not as familiar with him as I think maybe even plenty of our
Askari
viewers.
Vikstrom.
Okay. He obviously made so much more of a name for himself at the USDGC. With me not physically being at the USDGC, having an interaction with him, interviewing him, things of that nature, I'll be the first to admit I don't know him as well as I think I'll probably get to know him in the next few years.
Born in 2003.
That's when I started my first disc golf company.
So did his parents.
Yeah.
So throws right-handed, PDG number 74130, Discmania sponsored player. He is.
Oh, and here's a quote: "The first time I tried disc golf, I hated it." Okay. Look where you are now. Any other major sponsorship news or information out there, Johnny?
We haven't seen really any other sponsorship news. There's been a lot of rumors flying around and some names that are being tossed in and about, but those are things that I'm not going to repeat on here. Just because if you want to go find names, you can check out some of the threads or follow some places on Facebook, and there's people talking. And I'll say I've been hearing some things, and it's funny listening to the online chatter. Some people are nailing what I know, and some people are so far off.
I know.
It is so funny to listen.
Yeah, and it's like every year, anytime we happen to be privy to truly like inside, back room, confidential information, it is sometimes tough to see and read some of the remarks that get put out there, and we have to be, even in the media side, sometimes we're sworn to a little secrecy.
Well, Haley King did make a post earlier this week on her Twitter that I followed up with, and she sounds like she has some announcements coming up, and I invited her to SmashBoxx those announcements.
Haley, we're listening.
Yeah,
what do you got for us?
When you're ready to announce, I hope that it is. I have no idea. I'm going to assume.
Let's speculate, Johnny.
Speculate that if she's staying with Discraft, that she's going to be moved up to the elite
super team.
I think it's the elite.
I just make up names.
The elite touring team, because it's the elite tour team tracker. I'm hoping that's the news we're going to get. I could be totally wrong, and maybe she is moving to MVP, or maybe she's moving to
buying her a jet.
Innova, maybe a jet.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, who wouldn't love that?
But I do feel like Haley is one of those names now, especially on the FPO side, that she has shown her skills and the consistency that she can make a run at some of those top places in the FPO field, that she probably deserves to be on whomever she plays for their top team. So, I don't know. Hopefully we'll find out from Haley in the next couple of weeks, as we're going to hear from a lot of different players.
And as I'm watching the board, continued speculation, people talking about what's going on out there. A moment ago, Ray had said he's surprised that Discraft hasn't scooped up Rebecca Cox, and I believe Rebecca has already announced that she has re-signed with Latitude 64. She was, I'll say briefly, with Discraft at one point, and then ultimately I think went back to Latitude 64. So I think there was a sponsorship. She switched and then ultimately went back. So I don't think you're going to see that happening. But then again, who knows? I could just be throwing you off the trail.
No.
You think I'd waste cookies to throw somebody else off a trail? Probably not.
No. You're not going to waste any cookies.
No. I get wasted on cookies is more like it. Is that a thing? No, it's not.
It's not.
All right. I'm going to check my notes and see what else we have going on. Simon Lizotte, I will quickly, not that he needs any official shout-outs, but Simon Lizotte has
He's got a workout routine.
Workout routine, and he's also gotten rejuvenated to doing video blogs. So I think he's had 3 or 4 released in the last few weeks, or in the last week or so. It seems like he's getting, just more amped up and finding ways to keep himself entertained and entertaining all of us at the same time. In fact, I think he released one today, maybe even one yesterday and the day before. He's on a relatively consistent pattern of putting him out there, which is great to see.
We saw this last year with Simon. He started out hot and heavy with the blogs.
Sure.
And they kind of tailed off a little bit towards the end as he got busy doing other things. I'm wondering if that's the type of road that we're on. If we're going to see him post a bunch in November and then maybe early December, and then come first of the year, those will tail off again as he preps for the upcoming season, whether it's fitness or, going someplace warm to throw discs as opposed to. Now, is he still in Massachusetts?
Yes.
He is not gone
just outside of Boston,
Colorado at all.
Yeah. So those are out there, seem to be entertaining. I think I also saw from Brody Smith that a trick shot video that involved, I believe, Brody, Simon, and Paul is scheduled to drop tomorrow. Tomorrow being Wednesday, November 13th.
Filmed almost a year ago.
I think it was my parents' wedding anniversary. You guys aren't watching, but happy anniversary today. So anyway, but I believe they're dropping a video tomorrow. A full year ago? Really?
It was almost a year ago, yeah.
Okay. Well, so I'm sure that will be, I'm assuming that's going to be very entertaining and available to all. All right, so I have a few things for what I would consider after show material. Do we have anything else before we close things out here tonight, Johnny? In the regular show? Any actual disc golf news, information?
I don't believe so. Some of you may have noticed the last couple days, I was on broadcasting with Tyler Brickley on Disc Golf Comedy. We did the Disc Golf Valley Challenge, where we both were able to project our phones to our computers, and we played Disc Golf Valley. It was a lot of fun. I think it's something that him and I are probably going to do, I won't say frequently, but every couple of weeks I could see jumping on and playing Disc Golf Valley. It actually kind of rejuvenated my enjoyment of the game. I hadn't played since, I believe, Beaver State Fling, when I was playing with Ben Ferris for like two or three straight days, but it was a lot of fun. So look forward to that. We had like 30 people, 25 people playing with us in one league, because you can give out like a league code similar to what Skip Ace does. It's a 4-digit code, and they hop in and everyone plays against you. And we were doing all sorts of fun challenges, putter only, or under 5 speed or under 7 speed. And then it just kind of progressed from there. And it was a lot of fun, and I hope we get to do it a little bit more frequently. So keep an eye out for that. I'm almost done editing the Christina Linthicum unsanctioned podcast. I just need to do a couple pickups on the mic for places that I had messed up as far as intros or introductions or sponsorship stuff like that I want to make sure that I get just right before I put it out there.
And I got to give a quick shout out. I saw the boys from Ace Run Productions. They were working their tail off this weekend. Tails, plural. Working hard over there at the Next Gen finale. They also always graciously super chat us. You guys are almost too nice to us, but they just super chatted yet again. So please go out. I know they released round 1, the first day action that they got. I believe it was lead card, second round, out at Flat Creek Winery. So it is out. It is available. Please go check it out. I have to assume day 2 action and day 3 action will both be releasing here sometime in the next couple of days. But huge shout out to those guys. Filming throughout the day, that edit life, putting stuff together and getting it released as quickly as they can. We know that drill all too much. So please go out and check in with Ace Run Productions with the work that they're doing out there.
Somebody asked on the board about Skip Ace and the updates and everything that's going on. Things are going really well. I'm working with 2 new people, one of which is a developer. I've already pushed an entire list of updates that I want in kind of an order that I want. And I'm also working with a design company to do a new design for the site to try to get it a little bit more up to date as far as the look. Same thing with the actual SmashBoxxTV website. That'll be up to date as well. Hopefully in the next, I'll say 3 weeks or so. That should be done. We just we got some proofs. We looked it over, and now I'm gonna tell them, I'm like, this is the one I like. Let's get this going where we can get a store up and all that other fun stuff. And Terry and I are going to be talking hopefully very soon about the end of year Patreon discs. So we're going to make that order coming up in the next week or two so we can get those out to all our $3 and above sponsors. If you are interested in being a Patreon sponsor, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Righty, guys. Well, I think we're going to call it for the regular show. I know we got some great after show stuff to discuss. In the meantime, go out, subscribe. You've got, I don't know, Ace Run Productions, Disc Golf Comedy, all sorts of other super duper people that you should be checking out there. Simon Lazat's channel. Like that guy needs any more
Promotion or help.
Promotion. Super duper Simon. For Johnny V and myself, this has been podcast episode 273. I want to thank UDisc along with Kyle Klein and Steve Dodge all for giving us a little bit of content to discuss tonight. Of course, we're going to have more disc golf and non-disc golf related news to come to you in the after show, so stay tuned. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 273 After Show. Here we are, getting at it. Welcome.
It's the after show, Terry. What you got going on?
I mean, I could ramble about all sorts of stuff. That's what I like to do.
Here's what I don't want to hear today.
Okay.
I don't want to hear any travel stories. No complaining.
You mean the cool?
Or no doing. I don't care if they did great. I don't care if they were horrible. No travel stories.
No travel stories about, what do you mean? Like trials and tribulations while I travel?
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Even if there's positives?
Even if there's positives.
I mean.
Yeah. Cutting you off at the knees right there.
I gave away a Southwest coupon to a woman who wanted an alcoholic drink yesterday. And I was like, well,
okay,
you can have my coupon.
I can deal with that. That's nice. I mean, she might have been an alcoholic, and you might have just sent her into a downward spiral for the rest of her life.
That's
hey.
possible. That's possible. All right. Well, I've got all sorts of good stuff, including where I'll be going to in a few months, but we won't go there. I'll just go enjoy it.
I don't care if you tell us where you're going. I don't want to hear how you got there, or like hear you complain about some luggage being lost, or having to divert a plane, or anything, or the person next to you who rested their feet on your neck or something weird. I don't want to hear any of that.
Wow. Huh. Okay. All right. Well, what I will start with, as I was taking a look at my notes. This weekend, while I was after I had traveled to Austin, and I was posting one of the recaps, which somebody appropriately said they didn't feel like recap was the right word for the vlog that I put up, and I think that's valid feedback, actually. I don't know what I would rename it, but that's another subject. I had posted one of the daily vlogs from the Next Gen Tour, and then as I was doing so, I came across a live feed on YouTube that was the National Pickleball Championships. I then took that to one of my Facebook pages, put it out there, commented, and said, there's always comparisons. PGA golf, NFL, NBA, MLB, all these, comparisons. I love it when everybody compares entities like SmashBox to, NBC Sports or ESPN. In some way, I guess that's a compliment. In other ways, you're crazy. But all these comparisons get constantly made. And then now I'm seeing a national championships of pickleball, which is very much a niche sport that's been around for 20 or 30 years, at least. And their viewership, now this was not the final championship round, but their viewership for that particular match at roughly noon on Sunday, 276 people. And I thought, they have an incredibly easy methodology of filming it.
It looked like it was a 2-camera shoot, one from the side, one from the back.
They said commentator, but I don't feel like there was. I think they just more or less had a microphone that was picking up the officials' calls, saying out, in, side out, whatever. So I wouldn't know if I would call that commentary. That's more like it's just mic'd up that you can actually hear the calls being made. 276 viewers. Now, I'm not picking on them. I'm drawing attention to it for a comparison.
It's so hard to compare. It's two different sports.
Are we closer to that than we are to
yes
to covering the Milwaukee Brewers?
100%.
Okay.
We are much closer sport-wise and coverage-wise, I would say. We are in the off-season. I think we've talked about this a little bit. We're talking with the PDGA about broadcasts. We're talking with Disc Golf Pro Tour broadcasts. I went out, and I'm part of a bunch of different Facebook groups, and I just kind of said, hey, guys, I wouldn't say I'm new to this, but we're a little bit newer to the business side. Our business has always been a little unique in that we came from the sport itself into the broadcasting as opposed to the broadcast side coming into the sport. So I kind of said, what's a general rate? A good rate to charge? A lot of you guys do, a lot of them do things like high school football or high school sports, maybe small division. I don't even know if they call it Division 2 or 3 anymore. Football games. And there's a few bigger ones in there, but inevitably I got about $1,500 per live hour. So every hour that they are live, they are charging about $1,500, depending on, obviously, that's usually a camera
travel amount.
That's usually a camera crew of, I think the guy said 2 or 3 people, and then 1 or 2 people helping do behind the scenes stuff. So it's usually a crew of 5 to 6 people. And I was thinking, okay, well,
we're kind of in that neighborhood of
that would be nice.
Members. Yep.
Yeah, number of people, and
staff, crew.
And then I was thinking, like, wow, we do like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
for Worlds, like 5 days. PDG is gonna. I need to rewrite our bill from last year to the PDGA.
We'd like to retro that.
I'd like to send them an invoice. But ultimately, it was kind of good information, and it made me think of the pickleball, about the static cameras and, as you said, the commentator, and where we are as a sport compared to other niche sports.
Yeah, and right now I'm seeing a few comments come in. Ray is talking about some esports, and I think I'll bluntly say, I don't think esports are in any way, shape, or form even remotely in the same category as to what we are. Esports, just as an industry, is a
It's
a billion times bigger than us.
It's closer. I think esports is way closer to like your NBA, NFL
trillion,
stuff.
like
as far as the popularity and the broadcast quality that they are putting out.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, dare I say, on esports, and again, I'm kind of going back and forth with Ray here in the chat board. He had made a comment which I'll just say I disagree with, talking about how I apologize where his comment went, but disc golf lives online and so do esports, and I if I am understanding you correctly, I think I completely disagree. Esports are played online, broadcast online. They do live online. Disc golf is like so many of our other more traditional sports where it's played out on a field or on a course or out in the open or in nature, and it just happens to have an online presence. Esports, by definition, are all done electronically. I don't see any compare. I see what you're saying, but I don't necessarily agree or see what you're saying.
And you can watch some of the esports championships. They are getting 100, 200, 300,000 viewers concurrent.
Yeah.
On some of the big, huge tournaments. It is way closer. There's a series. I don't pay attention to too many of the online games, but I know League of Legends is one of the more popular ones. And they had a whole series of them getting ready to do a broadcast behind the scenes. And that's what interested me. So I sat and watched it. It's amazing, some of the things that they have, like entire studios and rooms and rooms of people that just do nothing but watch the games and take notes and send that information back. And then the analysts. It is at a scale that you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, it's truly incredible. And for what it's worth, and I'm going to oversimplify this and kind of downplay it on purpose, but if I wanted to broadcast esports tomorrow, like it's just a matter of plugging in the right thing into my computer and typing in a few things to stream it to the right spot. Like that's how you're broadcasting esports. If you wanted to broadcast disc golf in anything that even remotely resembled a professional sense, there's a dozen more steps with thousands of more dollars that would take you to get it there. So that's where I'm saying I don't feel like they're even remotely in the same category. Like I could literally be broadcasting my own esports playing or my own video game playing 10 minutes after we end tonight's podcast. You can't say that about disc golf. There's so much more to it if you're going to truly broadcast it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah. I don't necessarily always agree with that.
In what way?
I could walk outside.
Yeah, with a phone
and
go live. Absolutely.
And
that's why I said with a professional sense.
Correct, and that's the equivalent.
You can't do that.
I mean, that's the equivalent of you streaming your video game on your laptop. To me, those would be more in parallel as far as quality. Like, cool, someone going outside filming a Little League game with a phone and a tripod.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many applications on your phone now. You could add just little graphics. It would take almost zero effort. Just like adding streaming a game on your computer. You literally just put it in and go. It's to me, those are a little more parallel as opposed to when you get to the big leagues, we'll say.
Well, and I think one of the follow-up questions to all of that, and I just noticed the amount of people that were watching or interacting as this championships. And I don't know if this is a mid-level or a high-level championships. I'll be the first to admit I'm not fully versed on all of pickleball, so I don't know if that was considered the equivalent of an A tier or of a major or of a B tier that happens every other weekend. That I can't speak to. So maybe that 268 is absolutely nothing I should be hanging any kind of reference point to in terms of what they would normally be expecting. But when it was all, my whole point to it was, I think about what disc golf needs in general, no matter who's broadcasting it, us or Fulcrum or any other entity. When I look at it out there and what is done to put it onto the screen in at least a mildly professional manner, and then I look at a cornhole or a pickleball, and I think, okay, maybe disc golf as a concept isn't doing so bad.
No, I don't think
And that's
we
something
are.
that Bobby Brown actually echoed, and I put a lot of stock, obviously, in his opinion from a media perspective.
I just looked up the National Pickleball Championships from this particular weekend. Pro Division singles winner got $2,500. So I feel like it's relatively close to our sport.
Yeah, and then looks like exactly double that for the doubles. Obviously, that's per team, so it comes out to be about the same amount. And now, also interestingly enough, look at your sponsors down at the bottom. Latitude 64 is involved? Oh no, Latitude.
It does say Latitude, but it's Latitude Margaritaville. And now pickleball tends to skew to an older generation.
I think generally speaking. And that may be shifting now, but I think previously, yes.
It had started out that way. So that's why you see the Margaritaville, the Latitude Margaritaville, Indian Wells, California. But then you also have Pickleball Central, I think that says Selkirk Sport, and Pickleball Paddles, something like whatever that particular. I mean, it's their manufacturers, just like we have as our manufacturers primarily.
What was entry fee? Since I don't know if it's on there. I know you're looking at tournament, and I wonder if the venue featured players. All right. So something that's again, we constantly are comparing ourselves, or others are comparing us to what we're seeing. You'd like NFL quality, you'd like NBA quality, you'd like all of these types of things. But I thought just as a so it looks like it's got 12,000 total views a few days later. Wow, and it looks like the stream was...
I went towards the end of the stream, which is probably then there is actual commentary.
Okay.
You can probably hear it.
Yep.
That they got... It looks like the stands actually filled up a little more, and there's a chat board that's going on.
Yeah, just as we'd see there, of course, then broadcasting.
Somebody's complaining, let's not chat, it covers my screen. Because they don't know how to turn the chat off on their phone.
And they were featuring, as you mentioned when I made the post, they featured replays, a lot of them.
So, yeah, a lot of different replays on theirs as well.
All right, so
it just
what that's worth,
it just looks like mini tennis.
Yeah, I don't know if it's quite a badminton-sized court. I've played it before. It was many years ago. I was introduced to it. There's a gentleman that was working with the Wisconsin Senior Olympics. I was, of course, promoting disc golf, which he was just getting into, but he was also showing me a little bit about pickleball. That was my introduction to it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but there are a lot of parallels that they're having a hard time finding places to play. It was growing in popularity, but he's like, we have no courts. It's a specific court that's set up, so on and so forth. And for him to find either a gym or a park and rec department to then tape off or mark off a court was his number one challenge. So I kind of found parallels in disc golf. It's like we have these enthusiasts, these fanatics, but we need the space to play it on. So clearly we need to bring in the experts, Dixon, Robert McCall, and Bobby Brown, as they've been playing pickleball every Sunday night over in Emporia. Needless to say, I don't think we're ready for a pickleball playoff between SmashBoxx and the Answer Man.
I don't believe so. I think they'll crush us.
They certainly would.
What else do you have on your list of things you
other
want to
things
talk
on
about?
my list? Totally unrelated. Well, not related. Related, but not. Streaming. I hear our friends over at... They're not my friends, actually. I couldn't care less. But the people over at Disney...
Oh, sure.
Fair to say they had a few problems today?
Oh, yeah.
So the one of the biggest companies in all of existence on the planet couldn't stream some stuff today?
Under capacity. So they got such a large influx of users trying to log on to Disney Plus on its first day that it more or less crashed the site. And I'll say a lot of people were logging on to watch one particular show, The Mandalorian, which is the new Star Wars series. It premiered. And so my understanding is that they took a lot of their resources and just literally directed it, however they did that, towards that one series. So whatever they extra
when you
capacity,
say resources, do you mean like server
capacity,
bandwidth, things of that nature?
However they end up doing that, they I guess a lot of people couldn't watch a lot of other movies or shows other than The Mandalorian. And it seemed to be better. I came home, sat down with my son. I wanted him to enjoy The Mandalorian with me, so we sat down after swim practice and watched it. Didn't have a problem logging in, didn't have a problem watching it, but that was at about 7:30 tonight. I guess during the day, a lot of people running into a lot of issues with it. So I'm guessing after today, it will be completely cleared up and we won't see this maybe until, unless there's another huge release that they run into.
So refresh my memory.
Okay.
Or actually just give me some information. This Disney Plus,
yes,
is its own standalone streaming platform, just as if you would subscribe to a Hulu or a Netflix. Is that a simplified version of it?
That's exactly what it is.
And it comes in at how much per month?
I think it's $6 or $7 a month,
And
which is I think relatively cheap. And if I was a little disappointed because if you have a Verizon Unlimited account, you can get it free for a year. We have a bunch of Verizon Unlimited accounts. Unfortunately, business accounts do not qualify because I was like, ooh, I wonder if I can get it for free. And I went in, they're like, sorry, that's a business account. So I was a little disappointed in that. But yes, it is a stranding. I logged on after watching The Mandalorian. I kind of breezed through some of their options. They have virtually every Disney movie known to man on there. Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Nat Geo, which I guess Disney owns as well as just what they call Disney. And you can go in there and see most of the cartoons we grew up with, Saturday or afternoon cartoons. Everything from Tailspin, Darkwing Duck, Rescue Rangers. Those
Thundercats?
That wasn't Disney. They have all of that stuff. They have a ton of movies. They have just, if you have kids that enjoy cartoons, they don't even have to be like princessy cartoons, but like Disney cartoons or Pixar, it seems like a no-brainer. Almost every Muppet movie they have on there. And the only thing I saw that they were missing that I really wanted was the Muppet Show from the early 80s, and they don't have that yet. But it seemed to work fine for me.
Okay. And then the follow-up to all of that is, in your opinion, I likely would not find the $6 value in that. Is that a fair assessment? Is that a fair guess? Like me personally.
Correct. I don't think there's much. I know your daughters, and they're not interested for the most part in Disney movies. I mean, they might enjoy Pixar now and again, but even so,
hit or miss, sure.
Hit or miss. And other than that, I don't see.
And I'm not a Star Wars guy.
You're not a Star Wars or a Marvel person, so neither of those would direct towards you. So for you personally, probably not. I can give you my username and password, and you can log in at home.
I genuinely assume, and then also
not that I would ever do that.
Another big draw, being the Simpsons. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was some, I don't say controversy because it sounds so nerdy, about the Simpsons broadcast. So original Simpsons, now we're getting 30 years old, 4:3 aspect ratio. What they do is they chop it to 16:9, which means you cut off like 15 to 20% of the screen, as opposed to scaling it so the black bars are on the side. If you know The Simpsons, and I don't know them super well, but it's a very visual, a lot of sight gags. And I guess people are complaining that a lot of it is cut off. Like you're literally losing portions of
the funny picture on the wall that's depicting something that was part of the joke.
Yes, exactly. A lot of that stuff you're actually missing for the first like 5 or 7 seasons until it went to more of a widescreen aspect ratio. And that's a cinephile type argument to have with any movie or TV show, is what's the best aspect ratio or stretching that you want to do depending on how it goes. I personally, I've seen most of those Simpsons. I'm not one to really probably go back and rewatch them, but I can understand the issues,
the frustrations
with people.
Well, Ray says it is a noticeably different experience. And I could understand all of that perspective. Again, not something that's going to impact me or I'm going to be concerned with, but I could understand, as you're saying, that it could certainly affect your overall experience to it.
Ray is booing me. I enjoy The Simpsons. I do. I'm not one to go back. I have so many other things I would rather watch before going back to watch The Simpsons. Now, one of the things I'm hearing a lot, people are asking if we're going to get stream fatigue with all of these different streaming services. HBO, CBS, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, what's the other one? Stars. And then I think there's even one more. But I mean, you add them all up and you're getting to be close to like $90 to $100 a month. Which is still probably cheaper than a premium cable subscription with HBO and Stars. But I see people complain, and then we talk about things like, oh, would a paid disc golf service, would that work out, or does that add to the stream fatigue? And what I like about the streaming ones is that there's no commitment. It's not like cable where you sign up for a year. If I want to do Hulu for 2 months to watch one movie or show, I do that, and then I unsubscribe. I want Disney for 2 months because I want to catch up with all the Mandalorian at the end. I do that. Or Netflix. Oh, guess what? Oh, there's nothing new on Netflix this month. My favorite show Stranger Things doesn't premiere for another year. I can get rid of Netflix. The one that seems to be constant with everybody is Prime Video because it comes with your Amazon Prime membership.
Sure.
So you're getting all the free shipping. But I still prefer the stream, and as far as stream fatigue goes, I think people are they have to get used to that, subscribing and unsubscribing to different services for what you particularly want at any given time.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I would have never even really thought of it that way. I mean, as of right now, I believe my household has Amazon Prime, of course, that's included, and Netflix. And I've never really thought about, well, I could add some for a few months or take some away. I also don't personally partake in a whole lot of television. Also, I think about another one that's out there, and depending on if you're streaming it on your television or if it's more mobile option for you or not, I don't know. But YouTube TV is another one like that you could be paying for, right? Isn't that's a significant subscription cost?
It is. I lump YouTube TV in with Hulu because they've got Hulu Live, which is just like YouTube TV, or Sling TV, PlayStation View, even though that was just announced that it's ending. DirecTV has an online streaming. Basically, it's your cable package scaled down into an online version, and I lump YouTube TV in with that because it more or less is that.
Everything going to be fixed for this Disney stuff? They got it all figured out then?
I bet you we don't hear another thing about it. I bet you it's fine now. The initial rush is over. A lot of people said early this morning, about 3 a.m. when it was announced and that it opened up, there was no problems. It was from like 9 a.m. until probably 6 p.m. I'm guessing we don't see another rush like that to subscribe, log in, and scroll around and watch something.
Okay. I wanted to just quickly touch on, I know earlier there was a little confusion in talking to Steve Dodge in the regular show. I had Googled it, and I didn't bother bringing it up at the time, but Dosh, what's listed is Dosh Board Golf is what was the other board game some of you might have been familiar with or seen with reference to disc golf. I believe that is, in fact, an Australian game, or that was maybe produced or came up with in Australia, and it's gone through various disc golf iterations. I see it listed with some Dude, which is of course an Australian name brand, and I know that they've teamed up with some tournaments and whatnot throughout the years. But it's called a golf strategy board game, Dosh Board Golf. So I just wanted to throw that out there if anyone was wondering from the regular show. And I don't know to its longevity and if I could still buy it tomorrow, if it's still available, those types of things. But one thing that is worth noting is when something like Steve's golf game, if or when that takes off and is successful, I think that's when you might see someone be like, oh, well, what else is out there? And that's when they're going to come across something like this. And I think it could actually, bolster a little bit of additional excitement and or sales for others that are out there. So just throwing that out there.
We're going to go off the rails here, or back. Well, maybe we're going back on the rails.
Ooh.
Disc golf related. Not who, but when do you think we're going to get the next big player announcement? It's November 12th right now. Do you think we'll see a big announcement in the next week?
Yeah, it's become so hit or miss. And I only say that because I feel like a lot of our sponsorships kind of go till the end of the year contractually, but then it seems like there's been some flux in that.
Because
somebody
most,
may,
most people don't have anything to do for the next 2 months. So what does it matter if they announce that, hey, I'm leaving this company in 2 months and going to this other company?
Yeah, I'm uncertain of, but yeah, I don't know when we're gonna see or hear. I think knowing that we know a few are in the works, I'll be the first to admit, like yourself, I don't even know when those are scheduled to then release, and what the strategy is. Do you care about a Thanksgiving, early December? Is there anything related to products or whatever that have any impact? That's a great question. Good question. Let's get some manufacturers on the board and start yelling at them. Say, what's going on? I will make a quick plug. It's in the after show. Only like a dozen, maybe 15 spots available for the cold turkey that I'm running in a few weeks. I feel like it's actually selling out a little earlier than normal. It does have relatively limited space, keeping everything to foursomes for 18 holes, 2 rounds of 18. So PDGA C tier. And one of the things that I'm most excited about for that event, besides having RPM as the presenting sponsor, I'm going to adopt and use the PDGA live scoring so that all groups will be able to go out there and use the live scoring. I know the Next Gen used it this last weekend in Austin. Scott Reek was kind of at the helm there running those controls, but I'm pretty excited to utilize it here for the event that I'm hosting in a couple weeks. From what so many people have talked about and from the demonstration that I saw, it seems like it's an incredibly easy system to set up and run. But you and I have a little familiarity to some degree with UDisc, but to have players essentially go out there, find their name, and select either their card mates or maybe it's pre-selected depending on how it gets set up, and then actually do the live scoring there. It's kind of cool. It's something that I think you and I have seen in some way or thought about seeing for a lot of years now. You got a couple friends that go play a medium or a smaller event, and you're like, oh, well, there's not live scoring other than them texting you saying, oh, I just double bogeyed, or the wheels are falling off. There's 3 bogeys in a row, Steve. Whatever the case might be. But now, if their group or someone on their card is on top of it, you could have potentially live scoring for every single hole, every single group, and that should be pretty exciting to see.
I think that is exciting. I will be paying attention if you can get that done from Florida.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. My one challenge to wrap that up, I'm toying around with a few trophy ideas, and if you're a trophy extraordinaire, feel free to reach out to me. I've got a couple different ideas, but we'll see where that ends up going. Okay, on the board, some people talking about the what's going on for Thanksgiving. I think you're also seeing, I'll follow up that quickly, this is the 14th year that the cold turkey is being run, that I've run it 13 out of 14 years. It's always the Saturday following Thanksgiving. Black Friday, even Thanksgiving, but Black Friday and then Saturday and Sunday tournaments are becoming more and more popular. And is that just a supply and demand thing? People are off. People want something else to do that weekend. It's shopping's not maybe a concern. Why do we see so many more tournaments pop up on that weekend, Johnny? Any brilliant insights from you as to why that's happening?
No, I don't really have. I always thought it was a great day that Friday to have a tournament. just everybody has off usually.
Where have, since you follow the news more than I do, where are we with department stores? And it feels like there was an influx. Everybody was pushing to go earlier, then to open on Thanksgiving. It feels like now they're fighting back the opposite way. Is that what you're still seeing
I wouldn't
and hearing?
say fighting back. I think you have a very small subset of companies specifically advertising that they don't open on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We are absolutely not. We respect our employees and their time, so we are not going to bring them in Thursday night at 8 p.m. or whatever that is. I think a lot of it, just like a lot of other things, is a marketing ploy. But you're still going to see the 8 p.m. on Thursday nights. You're still going to see it. It's very few that have the backlash still.
All right, I'm going to read a few things off of the board. If you got something for us, please go ahead and put it in the board and we can address it potentially. Ray is asking, you guys negotiating with DGPT for live? We have no formal agreements with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. We have had a few conversations. In fact, Johnny and I had a few emails just go back and forth over the last few days in terms of some ideas and throwing out some concepts, some negotiations, and some details as to how things could look or might look. I think we're going to be scheduling a call, if it hasn't been already scheduled, to continue that conversation. But I can say right now that as of this very moment, there is no final or formal plan for Johnny and I or SmashBoxx as a company to officially be involved. Clearly, the negotiations and the conversations will hopefully continue. But as of right now, there's nothing that has been inked, is maybe a good way to put that.
Everything looks positive at this point.
Yeah.
Correct. Nothing is in stone.
Ray says, really going to need more SmashBoxx than just Worlds. And the World Championships, I know without beating it to death, but we have no formal NT agreements as of right now. Nothing has been locked in for really any of those events. Outside of Glassblown Open, Glassblown has always supported our live efforts at a small or large or even larger scale, whatever the case might be. Glassblown looks to be pretty much a lock-in terms of us providing live coverage. None of the other NTs have we locked in anything with them. And then the World Championships specifically will be put out for an RFP, so that will be more of a we'll say a bid and proposal process.
I'm excited
which guarantees us nothing as well.
Correct. We're not guaranteed. I'm excited because we're not guaranteed anything for Worlds. For GBO, we're literally waiting on one thing from Bobby before we send him the proposal. And I think he has to talk to Doug about something. They're organizing something or other. But for Worlds, we were informed that there's going to be an RFP for Worlds this year, which there has never really been in the past. So I'm excited that we'll be able to compete with other companies and maybe as I hope to say, maybe the PDGA and everybody else will see the type of deal they've been getting. And maybe they won't. Maybe there'll be another RFP and undercut us as we had done to, our previous people, Disc Golf Planet, where we came in cheaper than them. Maybe whoever's going to come in and do the RFP will come in at cheaper than us. But again, from a lot of research that I have done, it doesn't sound that way, but anything's possible.
I just want to film live pickleball. That's all I want to do. Makers ask, more movement on the FPO side or the MPO side? And when you say movement, I'm not sure what you're saying, but in terms of sponsorship, I think in terms of actual movement, we just because of just sheer numbers, we see more on the MPO side. And has there been any significant sponsorship changes?
Not
other than, and I don't count on re-signing as a change, obviously.
There hasn't been for FPO.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. Some things might be in the works, though. We'll see. Here's a question Ryan asks. Have you noticed the change in Oppie 6? I'm not sure what you're asking there. I hope I didn't just swear at somebody in another language. I'm not sure what that means. Someone asked for an opinion of Chuck Kennedy. Chuck Kennedy, PDGA Hall of Famer. Chuck Kennedy, one of the most well-known, I don't want to say just idea men that have come about in disc golf that have pushed a lot of things forward, but he has also consulted on everything from ratings and help implement and develop the entire rating system, course designer, rules enthusiast, just overall strategic planner. There's a lot of things that Chuck Kennedy has done to move our sport forward in a lot of ways. You may not agree with every idea. I don't think he agrees with every idea he comes with.
No,
but he comes up with a lot of ideas.
Chuck's the type of person who imagine his ideas are a plate of spaghetti, and he just takes it and throws it against the wall, and sometimes things stick, and it's great. Sometimes he picks up the spaghetti from the ground, and he throws it at the wall again, and hopes something else sticks. Ultimately, usually, though, the ideas that stick are very good. And I respect that. Having all that information and all those ideas, whether they're good or bad, I think they're always good to have out there.
And if you once you get to know Chuck, there's a certain style of humor that he also comes with that is not everyone's cup of tea. And I think that could be said of everyone's style of humor, that clearly there's no one universal style that everyone loves. I personally, just thinking of what Chuck says makes me laugh when he brings it to the table. Some other people have stated otherwise. It is what it is. I'm not sure I care about that too much. Blue Boy says, gotta say, watching pickleball on YouTube, their commentators make Jamie Thomas
not sound great.
Yeah, sorry, as I was trying to read around my microphone. Again, I think every single commentator, and it's so funny because, we have that discussion about commentators, who loves them, who doesn't. I can't say enough about how I wish I could be hated in making $40 million or $50 million per contract like some of our top commentators. I saw a T-shirt this weekend where someone was complaining about NFL commentators. I know that's almost a given, and all I keep thinking is like, yeah, I'd laugh at that all the way to the bank. I'd be okay with that.
And
it doesn't matter.
For what it's worth, I don't mind Jamie. There are very few commentators that I have found that really turn me off.
Sure. Name them. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Terry
Yes.
Miller. And I have to listen to him all the time. Just in general, I think everybody brings their own style, and I enjoy that. I like the variety personally. It's like in post-production. There's a lot of post-production ones, and there are people who just absolutely dislike specific post-production people. I take it all with a grain of salt and just listen for specific things that people do. But maybe I'm listening with a different ear, and not so much, it sounds silly, I'm not listening so much for enjoyment. I'm not sitting down to kind of relax and watch some disc golf. I'm usually taking it in for an informational purpose. So I'm maybe listening for different things. That could just be me.
All right. Ryan asked, Jomez, lead card post-production only? Yeah, as far as we know of, it was announced. Obviously you said it last week here on the show, and then the very next day I know Johnny was so spot on. He is smarter than you guys think, actually. You think he's an idiot, but he's not. He nailed it last week. He said that within a day or two we would see.
Let's be honest. We said it like 3 weeks ago.
That's true. Yes, Jomez was announced from the PDGA to be the MPO lead card post-production team for the entire national tour. So there were no surprises there. Ryan also says, and I really want a full-scale post-production of USDGC. I asked, and I guess it isn't. I don't know what you mean by that.
Correct. There was full shot by shot for it. It was on Spin TV's YouTube page. That was their lead card.
Yeah.
Gomez was second card.
Yeah, I don't know that I follow what you're asking either. So, well, Johnny, I don't know if you've got anything else. Other than that, I think we've talked about everything that's going on out there in the world of disc golf. The other quick announcement when we glossed over sponsors and whatnot, I think we saw a contract extension of sorts. I don't know any of the details, of course, but Brian Earhart, Discraft. I think he's working with Sun King, Mike Barnett, doing some stuff down there. But isn't there also a contract extension with Discraft?
I didn't see a contract extension. I saw that he still has one more year on his contract.
Right here it says.
Oh, unless
Brian Earhart extension.
Oh,
Discraft.
I thought. Okay,
I mean, I could be reading this wrong.
No. You're right. It looks like he does have 1 year. He got extended for 1 year. I thought he still just had 1 year on his contract. So my mistake in that he is that he was extended for 1 year. So my understanding was at first that he still just had a year and that there was no extension. But if Ultraworld is saying that there's an extension, then there's probably an extension, which is good. Brian does good stuff for Discraft as far as the Buzz podcast and just traveling in general.
Has DGP announced similar? Are they going stop by stop? DGP has the Disc Golf Pro Tour is right now. Are they taking? They're
taking
proposals of sorts.
Proposals for the RFP that they released. I don't have any idea when that is due to be announced. Whether it's a week or a month or 2 months, I have no idea. But they are getting proposals for the post-production.
Yeah, so it does not sound like any of that has been officially determined just yet. I asked Klein, he said live or nothing. Okay. All right, we're going to call it.
Oh, I think what Ryan is saying is he is waiting for the live to be put out on YouTube. So the full-scale live production.
Oh.
The full 4 hours or 4.5 hours of live to be put out there, which I believe I thought they said they were going to do 30 days after.
No, I thought they said it would only be available for 30 days.
Oh, you're right. They said it was only available.
And then potentially take it entirely down.
Correct. I was hoping that they would put that out on YouTube. Just for posterity's sake, just to have it out there. And maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Yeah, I mean.
It's going to reach out to, maybe I'll reach out to Jamie Thomas. Maybe he'll have an idea.
Yeah, I'm uncertain as to what their plans are there. All right, guys. Quick after show. Oh, we got a giveaway. Let's do a giveaway.
We have a couple giveaways we should do.
Sorry. Yep. I was gonna say I was about to shut things down, but we got free stuff to give away.
We're gonna do at least two. Probably you want to do 2 or 3.
Let's do 20.
No, we only should do 2 or 3.
I wanted 20. Johnny shut you guys down.
I did.
Yell at him.
Well, they're coming out of your stash.
That's true. Oh, I do have some pretty sweet stuff that I didn't bring tonight, but oh my gosh, I got a package when I was in South Carolina a few weeks ago. I went to the Innova factory. I hand-selected about 100 discs. We talked about that. I then got my Disc Golf Guy mini stamp put on the top of a bunch of stock discs, and they arrived recently, and took some pictures today, and I did not put them online, but if you want to support what I've got going on, it's just, I think there's something a little cool about having a stock disc, but then still having a mini stamp on it on the top. Every disc was hand-picked, hand-selected, because I thought it looked cool, or I thought you should throw it. So you'll see some of those hit the Facebooks.
So the first thing we're going to give away is our monthly disc member disc box.
Oh.
So if you are interested, if you enjoy, especially now when we're in the off season and you're spending less money on tournaments, why don't you take that money, sign up for the disc member package. You can get a couple boxes over the off season, get some new selection of discs out there, get them out and try them, whether they're in the winter or whether you're in the summer, depending on where you live. I don't know, you could be overseas, summer over there, or if you're just in a warm climate. For $25 a month, you get at least $40 worth of disc paraphernalia. Usually one disc, maybe a t-shirt, stickers, UDisc subscription, bottle openers, minis, hats, all that fun stuff.
iPod
minis. And they don't sell anymore. Just someone is giving away.
Speaking spells.
Oh, yeah, good call. You can get your December speak and spell.
Etch-a-sketches.
So you can go to discmember.com. If you do go out there, please tell them that SmashBox sent you and supported you. So this will be the disc member box from just a couple days ago. It was shipped to me, and and I got it. So I guess that would be November's box then, which I have no clue what's in it. I'm not even going to open it. I don't even care what's in it, because if I find out there's something cool in it, I might want to keep it, and that's never good. So I'd rather just give it to one of our viewers. Terry, give me a number. We're going to generate some fun.
All right. Well, they played 99 holes this weekend, and there were 3 divisions. So we'll go with the number 3.
All right. So the first number, 118. Second number, 102. Third number, 67. 67. I'm going to scroll up here, and that is Federico Sorensen. Congratulations, Federico Sorensen. You are our first winner.
Getting at it.
Getting at it. Oh, you're looking overseas.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Heading to what country is that?
I don't know.
Denmark?
I don't know. Oh yeah, DE, Denmark. So, congratulations. We'll get that to you.
Yep.
That's what we do. We have. Let's do another giveaway. Do you have something, or just?
Oh, I've got stuff. I'll
got
give
stuff.
away.
All right, Terry.
I got plenty of
Let's
stuff.
do another number.
All right. Well, this was the 4th year of the Next Gen Tour. It was the 3rd different city, and there were 4 women. So let's go with number 4.
Number 4. There's the first number. There's the second number. There's the third number. The fourth number is 107. 107. I'm going to scroll down to my 107. That is Kurt Bimler. Congratulations, Kurt Bimler.
Thank you, Kurt. Out of Illinois.
Is that where he's out? Yeah. Oh yeah. Out of Illinois, South Elgin, Illinois.
Elgin. I think.
Elgin. I don't care. It's a city, whatever.
It's a city out of Illinois.
Illinois. So congratulations, Kurt. We will get something from Terry's personal stash.
Oh yeah.
So once again, thank you to all of our patrons. You know that we love you more than everybody else.
Absolutely. And
it's a true story.
Kurt, we should check in. Maybe you're going to come to the cold turkey. If so, get an extra special. Oh, I have something for you that I forgot to bring tonight.
Oh, that does mean
our
a lot
pals
of good.
over at the Drava Forester they gave away some really awesome neck gaiters, and with the Drava Forester logo. So Maya and Dinko had instructed me to take an extra one so that I could pass one on to you. So I have one for you, and I'll have to bring it and show it off
over the next 2 months.
Yeah, so I'll have to remind me to bring that and turn it over to you. I grabbed one and also have one for you. So
thank you, guys.
And then with regard to that, tomorrow I'm doing some commentary. Eagle McMahon and I have an afternoon planned of doing some commentary. You're also going to see some additional commentary once Big Germ's ready to sit down and do some Nantucket stuff. We've been trying to hunt him down for a while now. So Nantucket is in the queue. We're going to have Croatia in the queue. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's all coming up, and I feel like it's perfect timing. Quote unquote off season, slow season. So anything that somehow hasn't been out, whether it was intentional or otherwise, will continue to get released here in the next few weeks or month or so. What do you got for us? Trying to shut things down here, but you got something for us. I'm excited.
I'm not really that excited about it.
Well, I think he is.
I'm really not. I did create a highlight. We'll do the one with no music.
Ooh.
Just because I don't have rights to the music that I used. I found there's a local Milwaukee artist named Lex Allen, and I really enjoyed some of his music. And I thought it would be like, well, this would be all right. I may reach out to this artist. They're a very small artist here in Milwaukee about using their song for the highlights next year for our broadcast. But what I have is I created basically I'll just actually put this over so that we don't lose our, basically a Macbeth highlight clip. I plan on hopefully doing this with all of the pros, as I've got them all labeled out, and putting them into a, kind of a 2019 for each player.
Mm.
So every player will get their own highlight, and they're all in order based on the year. It starts, because the way Smashbox was with the Pro Tour this year, it really starts at San Francisco. So from San Francisco through the next gen finale, or not next gen finale, the Pro Tour finale, we have all these clips. And this is the one I have. I figured I would start out with Paul and work my way from there. So that is what we have. And this, Paul's particularly, is 11 minutes long, so we're not going to sit and watch the whole thing. But this was at the
Great Lakes
Open event.
I think he played okay there.
He did okay. I think he may have shot like an 18.
That was last year. He sucked this year.
This year he just won. How lame.
Spoilers, bro.
So.
Okay.
Yep. So look for that in the next probably couple days. It's already done, and actually I have it up on YouTube. I just haven't honestly just released it yet. I want to get one more taken care of before I release them, just to kind of get ahead of the game. So you can expect to see that out on our Smashbox page.
All right. Well, we'll skip over my very insightful post today talking about the Cheetos, the flaming hot Cheetos. I learned all about those. But you go out and find my Facebook post if you really care about it. Interesting story. Without getting into that story, I will say I went out to research something about Cheetos today and then found an entirely different angle and story on it, and that's what led to the Facebook post. So it's kind of funny what you find. All right, we're closing it out officially. I'm calling this thing. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been a not too insightful or useful after show for you tonight, but we're glad you could join us. Hey, even if we're terrible, you still have the chance to win stuff. So somehow we make you put up with us even longer, and we're glad you guys could do so. We'll see you next week. We're going to bring you episode 274. I'm sure we'll have some good stuff for you then, and if not, well, you could still win stuff. So we'll see you next time when you step inside the Smashbox.